Hi, in this video I am going to show you how to cover a journal or an album with all kinds of different papers and other collage elements using paints, inks, sprays, gel mediums, and all kinds of fun stuff. This is one that I've worked on and finished earlier this year that I covered with all kinds of different papers with the gel mediums and other things and paint and spray, and which is all finished. And this is one that I'm currently in the process of working on. I've only done the papers so far and covered the album with the gel medium and all of my different papers and some ink and spray and paint and all that. So today I'm going to show you how you can achieve this look with all the products that I have here in front of me. So I just grabbed a piece of chipboard to start with rather than an album, so you can kind of get an idea about what is going on here. And what I also did was grab a whole bunch of different papers and kind of rearrange them in a pattern that I wanted to have. I tore these. You can obviously cut them, create strips, do all kinds of things. This one right here, I wanted to give a little bit of other texture. And I've done this with other papers too that I covered my journal with, and I actually dampened the paper and then rolled it up in a little ball to crinkle it. And this one actually, when I undid it, a whole bunch of the texture and the paper, the felting came apart. But when I glue it down, it's going to give it this really great texture. So when I ink over it later, those little raised areas are going to become darker than the rest of it. And then I have these just other ones, and I just kind of arrange them kind of in a haphazard way, but you'll see once we get them down, I'll arrange them a little bit more. What I'm going to use to put this down is the gel mediums from Ranger. These are the Claudine Hellmuth Studio mediums. One of them is a gloss and one of them is matte. Now these are like a glue. They dry clear. You can use them for gluing papers, sealing art, extending your paint, glazes, image transfers, all kinds of things. I really like the matte. And that it makes it so it's not shiny at all. When I did my first album, I did everything in matte and then later added more and did it in gloss. And so some of the stuff on my album is glossy now because it will make it shiny on the front. Okay, so I have all kinds of brushes. You can also use a foam brush for this. A lot of people would probably use a foam brush. I like the foam brushes that will get ruined eventually, and they're really cheap, so that they're really easy to use. I'm going to use a regular paintbrush and just paint on the back of this paper. I should have been putting this on something else rather than what I'm actually going to use on as my album. But you want to make sure that you give it a really good, nice coat all the way through. It doesn't take a lot, except I think when you're trying to seal it and glue it, it doesn't hurt to have more than you think you're going to need. Just to give it a really good seal. You can also mix it with water. You can actually just mix your paint right together with it when you're creating your glaze over the top later to seal it in, or you can just leave it plain and then do the painting part later. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick that down. Now I've put on all of the corners, every little piece of it. And once I put this on here and it's drying, it's not coming back up again. So I'm just pressing really tightly. And since this one had all those crinkles and stuff, it has a little bit more bubbles. It no longer lays as flat as I wanted it to, which is kind of nice because it kind of actually makes extra little folds and creases in it, which will be really handy later. I even went out, now here you can kind of see it's coming up a little bit. It doesn't hurt just to go ahead and just stick a little bit more glaze underneath there, unless you want it to stick up. Like I'm just going to leave that part up so that it rolls a little bit, and later when I do my painting and add the other stuff, it's going to just kind of hang there and kind of be aged a little bit differently than the rest. I'm just going to quickly put down a couple more of these papers so we have some sort of little collage on here. Okay, so you can see I've finished adhering all of the papers, and then what I did was I took the gel medium again and created a glaze over the entire thing. So basically I just painted a whole layer of the medium over the top. You can see in some of the places it hasn't quite dried yet, so it's still kind of shiny, but this is the matte medium, so it is going to dry just all completely flat. But what happens is, because it was wet on the back, when you adhere a paper and it's wet on the back and then automatically apply more on the front, a wet surface, it will start to bubble and crackle a little bit and kind of leave little areas, and it will actually settle down once it dries. If I let it dry completely overnight or even for an hour, it would completely settle and everything would be flat and it would be really stiff. And you can see, like I said, there's some areas where I applied it heavier than others, and on this paper in particular, it sits kind of in the cracks a little bit. And it is a little tacky, and it will be that way until it dries. Okay, so now I'm going to apply some paint to it. You can use these like little paint dabbers that we have here. These are from Ranger, part of this particular collection. I also just use a lot of paint from the craft store, the really inexpensive acrylic paint. I'm going to add some water to some of it to water it down a little bit. I love to paint, so I do a lot of different painting. The thinner that it is, the more you'll be able to see through it. Then when you get it thicker, they'll actually make it so you can't see through it as much, obviously. And you might want to do several different layers and do lots of different things with this. You can always go back over it later to thin it down, but you must do it quickly before it actually dries. And you can also come back with a paper towel and take some of it up. Obviously, it's going to stay in places that it's already dried, or it will dry in some of these little cracks. And it actually is kind of fun to apply different colors and then to come back with your paper towel and take some of that out and just kind of see where it lands. And you can create all different kinds of things. You can go light to dark from different corners. You can make it aged. You can do all different kinds of fun, different techniques and textures. You could bring different things in, actually make a little embossing, or you could use some stickers. I brought these stickers over here and use them as a mask, and then paint over the top of it. Oops, that one, you're not going to be able to see that. I like to use metallic paint sometimes when I do this too, because it's kind of fun and interesting and just adds a little bit of sparkle or something different. It leaves it behind a little, like you're using it like a little mask. So you can use all different kinds of fun things with this and do all kinds of different fun aging and changing the colors of papers, changing the look and feel, and really making it your own and making your own cover just by adding a little bit of paint, a little bit of ink, and all kinds of different fun textures and techniques. On mine, I like to always do the darker colors in the corner, and go to light in the center, blending colors, making it lighter as I go into the center, just kind of adding and changing some different techniques to it. Don't be afraid to play with it. That's one of the things I like most about paint, is that it's just really fun to play with and allow yourself that freedom of just, what can I do with this? How can I make this my own? And just make the colors that you really like and change the look and feel of, make the papers and make the album really unique. Okay, one last technique that I like to do and try on different things, and sometimes I do this to papers before I even add them. Let me grab a piece of paper. Shoot, there's one. Okay. Is use my different ink pads. These ones I've had forever, and I pulled out of my stash to bring them back out again to do my covers and different projects and stuff like that. And just to use the different ink pads to create a different color along the edges. So just like as though you're going to age something, and just rubbing it along there. And in the case of this one, where it has all this stuff on it, if I just rubbed it across the top of this, it's just going to absorb into those creases and those folds that I created before. And you can create different layers by grabbing different colors and putting a lighter color down first, and then coming along with your darker color and adding a little bit more texture and color with your darker color. The other thing that I've done before I actually put my paper onto my book cover is just kind of rub it along the edges of the pattern paper that I'm going to put on, and then just create a different look for that. And so then when I adhered it on there, it's already got that look to it, and I don't have to change anything with it, and I can just put my gel medium over the top of it and adhere it right to my paper. So it kind of blends in and works its own way in there. So that's another option, and all of these different things just add a lot of different depth and character and playfulness and uniqueness to your album or any other kind of project that you want to do in this fashion. I hope you liked it. Thanks!